It's knowing that your door is always open and your path is free to walk. It makes me tend to leave my sleeping bag rolled up and stashed behind your couch. It's knowing I'm not shackled by forgotten words and thoughts and the ink stains that have dried upon some line. That keeps you in the back roads by the rivers of my memory. That keeps you ever gentle on my mind. It's not clinging to the rocks and ivy painted on their columns now that bind me. Or something that somebody said because they thought we'd fit together walking. It's not knowing that the world will not be cursing or forgiving when I walk around the railroad track and find that you're moving on the back roads by the rivers of my memory, and hours you're just gentle on my mind. Though the wheat fields and the clotheslines and the junkyards and the highways come between us, and some other woman's crying to her mother 'cause she turned and I was gone, I still might run in silence, tears of joy might stain my face, and the summer sun might burn me till I'm blind. But not to where I cannot see you walking on the back roads by the rivers flowing gentle on my mind. I dip my cup of soup back from a gurgling, crackling cauldron in some train yard. My beard a rustling towel and a dirty hat pulled low across my face. Through cup hands round the tin can, I pretend to hold you to my breast and find that you're waiting from the back roads by the rivers of my memories, ever smiling, ever gentle on my mind.
And a good Thursday evening, everybody. Chris McDonald with you on this final show of the week. We're so grateful to have you. We are on phone tonight. We're on audio only, but we have got a very, very dear friend of ours. Great guy, great candidate, great former federal agent, and a friend of the McFiles family. And we're grateful to have Victor Avila with us on the phone. Buddy, you know, we're so grateful to have you tonight. You've been a great guest in the past, and I know that you're fighting the fight out there in Texas. We got some sort of breaking news to talk about tonight because things have sort of shifted a little bit since we've talked last. But I want to welcome you to the show as always, and you know, we've got our prayers, and I'm looking forward to hearing that Victor Avila is in Washington, D.C. for all of us, including the folks of Texas, very soon, my friend.
Absolutely, Chris. Thank you so much for having me, especially on this day today. If you remember, today is the anniversary of the shooting that Agent Zapata and I went through in Mexico. So yes. It's a day of remembrance, a day of honoring Agent Zapata and him paying the ultimate sacrifice in defending our homeland. And I want to continue to do that with this public service to honor him and honor his service and continue to defend the citizens of the great state of Texas and the country, because I think that's what they're deserving. I think that's what they're asking for. And a lot of it is coming down to this craziness at the border. Let's start there.
Yeah, but absolutely. And for those of you that don't know what Victor's talking about, he's outlined this in a wonderful book that he wrote called Agent Under Fire. Victor, what is that website? Is it agentunderfire.com?
It's agentunderfirebook.com.
Okay, put the book in there, agentunderfirebook.com. And I encourage folks to get that. It's a riveting story. It really is. And my friend, you know, when we talked last, the border was in a mess. Eagle Pass, Texas was like the poster child for the failure of this border. Now, before we get to the breaking news, I do want to ask you a question about Mayorkas. I've got a different view maybe than most people do about Mayorkas. Look, I agree in principle that the Republicans needed to do something. They barely impeached him by one vote because of the rhinos in the House. But ultimately, it's going to go nowhere in the Senate. You're not going to really accomplish anything. But on principle, on paper, did you agree with what they did to him? I know he's sort of the poster child for the failure. But Victor, my opinion is it goes higher up than him. Look, you've got to. This is a problem with Joe Biden. I lay all of this at his feet. Mayorkas is a pawn. He's part of the problem, but he's not all the problem. This goes to 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue and their policies, and these sanctuary states, these sanctuary cities, and all of these states griping and bitching about what they're having to experience with these illegal aliens. I'm thinking of New York City tonight. Look, New York brought this on. You sanctuary, you give harbor to illegal aliens. Guess what? Your city's going to be overrun with murder. Your city's going to be overrun with rape. Your city's going to be overrun with corruption. Your city's going to be overrun with broken glass. And we don't hold any kind of contempt for true people that are trying to come into this country. But Victor, at this point, buddy, I think we have to shut the whole border down right now until we get a handle on this because we're about to lose our country. What's your thoughts on that?
Well, you're spot on, and yes, of course, I agree with the impeachment. I wish it would have been done a lot sooner.
Me too.
We seem to, I don't know what we're waiting around for. We already know what the problem is. We already know we have identified the issues. We know that it's the Biden administration. We know this, and yet the Republicans sometimes act like they're confused about what the issue is, or even if they know what the issue is, they really don't know exactly the intricate details about that issue. And I'm talking about border security. It is not just illegal immigration. That's what gets the most attention because of the millions of illegals coming in, and rightly so. But we got to pay attention to the entire picture. And this is where I come in. I want to be able to bring that experience of how all this stuff impacts our economy. It impacts our school systems and it's impacting our criminal justice system. As you said, we have people coming into this country committing serious crimes against our U.S. citizens. And there's absolutely no accountability. Look at the ones that beat up the police officers in New York. And one of them got arrested, released, got arrested again, and because it continues to happen over and over. And I'm frankly just fed up with the fact that for some reason, under this administration and this system, if you're an illegal alien, the laws don't apply to you. They don't apply to you at the criminal justice system, at the local level. They definitely don't apply to you at the federal level, especially when you get on an airplane without any identification, something that I've been talking about for a long time. To me, it is the dereliction of duty of the entire administration, not just Mayorkas. So, yeah, we send the signal, you're right. Nothing's going to happen on the Senate side. He's not going to step down because they're vindictive that way. As a matter of fact, what did Biden say after the impeachment? Oh, yeah? That's what you do for us. So I'm going to release the illegal aliens now. Yeah. And I'm not going to fund ICE. So you have no more beds to put these illegals. And as a matter of fact, the ones that are in there, I'm going to release them to the streets. This is their way of responding to someone that continues to ignore and basically break our law. And instead of saying, you know what? We're hurting our American people. We're hurting our local communities in every different aspect that I just mentioned, yet they are not on our side. They are on the side of the cartel. They're on the side of the fentanyl pushers. They're on the side of these rapists. They're on the side of these cartels. These gangs. You heard about the one that's been getting a little bit of attention that I've been talking about for a long time is the one from Venezuela, the Tren de Aragua, who have teamed up with the Mexican cartels, have teamed up with MS-13, and they're wreaking havoc in Chicago and St. Louis and New York. And you're right, Chris. Then they're wondering, wait a minute, what's going on? Why are they doing this? Well, that's what they do.
That's what they do.
You let them in.
Exactly. Yeah, it is hypocrisy to the highest degree. You know, I was thinking about what happened last year. Maybe it was last year, year before, when 50 illegal aliens showed up in Martha Vineyard. You'd have thought that the Russians had invaded Martha Vineyard the way those local citizens were acting. I thought it was the biggest joke in the world watching these liberal elites scramble and saying, oh my God, we don't need these illegals here. And when most of those policies that we're talking about came from people that lived in Martha Vineyard, they were the ones that pushed this stuff. And you know, when they have it, you know, they don't want to take their own medicine. And you brought up some excellent points there, and I want to dissect it a little bit, and then we're going to get into what's going on at Eagle Pass tonight. Victor, do you believe that I just feel like the only solution to this right now, and I know it's not going to happen right now until we get to November, and then you're talking January, but can we sustain this rate of illegal invasion for another 8 months? And my other question to you is, are you in agreement with me that the only reason and the only way we stop this in its tracks is shut the entire border down, period? I mean, I'm talking about shutting it down to all immigration, not just illegal aliens, but I'm talking about shut it down, find these people that have come in illegally, and have a complete 100% deportation and just clean it out, clean house. I know that's tough. There's not going to be many in D.C. that's going to have the stomach for that. But, buddy, I don't see any other solution out of this. I just don't.
Well, first of all, to answer your first part of the question about sustainability, it hasn't been sustainable in the last several years already, and it won't be. And I don't know what it's going to take, Chris. I really don't know from now until next January. Another death? Apparently not. That doesn't matter to the left. Deaths, rapes. I'll tell you what, and I hate to say this, but is it going to take a terrorist attack on this country to grab the attention of the naysayers, to grab the attention of the deniers that this is a national security issue and public safety issue? I hope not. I mean, we have people like me, and I'm not the only one, trying to put out the real information of what is happening in every type of the ripple effect that affects so many aspects of our country. But I agree with you that we need to regroup. We need to regroup. The board. You see, border security must exist no matter what you do with immigration. If you really think about it, Chris, the left has done a really good job in calling all immigration the same. And it's not. We have two systems, the legal one and the illegal one. And they have put it to, and they have set the narrative that if I mention, and if I want legal immigration and I want to secure the border, they call me bad names because they want everyone to come in and not abide by our laws. But I do agree that we need to shutting down the border is difficult, and I'm going to tell you why. We have this cross-border traffic on a daily basis of legal people that come here, businesses, trade, and all that. But we need to send a message, starting with Mexico, and we have to hurt them where we're going to get their attention, and that's financially. I want to see financial sanctions on Mexico. I'm talking about on trade, because there's billions of dollars of trade that come through that border that, frankly, Americans depend on, believe it or not. But we would have to do something drastic. Why drastic? Because drastic times require drastic measures. We are at the point that we have to go above and beyond, even as much as I agree with the Trump policies of remain in Mexico, yes. Tariffs on Mexico, yes. But now we have to go more. I call for sanctions. I call for real accountability, starting with Mexico, because you have to pick a country, and it happens to be the one right next to us, attached to our hip, that for some reason everybody ignores. But we send billions of dollars to Ukraine. But here, the problem is here, right next to us, and we've got China there, we've got Hezbollah there, we've got Hamas there, we've got Iran there, we've got Cuba, we've got Venezuela, and everybody is exploiting Mexico. They love it. They love the fact that Mexico does nothing about it, and everybody is making millions of dollars. So let's hurt them there. Let's hurt them financially. Let's get their attention, and they need to be on the team. They need to be on what the United States wants, not the other way around, because they put their country first. Well, it's our turn to put ours first.
And the Mexicans, Victor, are doing to us what those punk kids did in New York to beat those cops up. They are sticking their middle finger up to America. They don't care. This Mexican president, to me, I thought the one before him was pretty corrupt, but he makes him look like a choir boy as far as the corruption that's going on down there right now.
And especially, Chris, because this president, he's a socialist communist president.
Yes.
He was supposed to be the big change that Mexico was craving, because they've only had really a two-party system over there. As you know, the history, they had one party in power, I think, for 76 years, and he was the new. At one point, I'm like, you know what? Maybe that's what Mexico needs. They need a brand new socialist to at least change the levels of corruption. And no, it actually got worse. He is probably the most corrupt president that in the existence, and that's saying something based on the levels of corruption that Mexico has. But let me tell you what's going on, especially because we're talking about Mexico.
Go ahead.
You know that Biden sends Blinken over there, send Mayorkas over there. Mexico then sent a delegation to the U.S. to Washington D.C. and they were cooking up, and they did cook up a deal that you and I do not know what it's like, because, or what it is, or what it contains, because they will not share it with us. Because I'll tell you why. Because it's not in favor of the American people. It's not in the protection of our sovereignty. It is a political deal that Mexico is playing along with it right now, because Mexico has presidential elections this summer in June.
Interesting.
And they want their party to remain in power. Biden wants to remain in power. So they went over there and cooked up something that is, let me tell you, I don't like it. This is wrong. And I'm seeing it right now. We're actually seeing it at the border, because all of a sudden the reduction of these illegal aliens started occurring. They started holding these illegals from coming to our border. Not all of them. We still have thousands on the Arizona, and I'll talk about Arizona and California right now in a second, but they literally slowed down dramatically in Texas, especially in Eagle Pass. But it's not because the Biden administration is securing the border. Don't fall for that. You saw the numbers in December, 303,000.
Unbelievable. January,
I think, was 124,000. A dramatic drop. And I predicted this. I knew this was going to happen, because the Biden administration is going to sell it to the American people as a victory. And you see, this is what we're doing for you. We're protecting, but it has nothing to do with actual securing of the border. But then on top of this, Mexico, part of that deal, demanded $20 billion from the U.S. And then demanded that the Mexican nationals get a visa in the U.S. And they also demanded to lift sanctions on Venezuela and Cuba. I don't see the advantage of that negotiation and that deal that favors us. And that's the problem, is that we don't have people on the U.S. side. And I'm talking specifically here of the incumbent that I'm running against, who has gone to Mexico several times, but they're not there negotiating on behalf of the American people. They're there negotiating on behalf of themselves and the political atmosphere that they support, not us. And we're going to change that.
I'm with you 1,000% there. And, you're speaking of Mexico. To me, though, what you just described to me is political extortion, Victor. They're extorting us for money. And it sort of brings me to my second question, and I'm sure a lot of the audience is asking this. We want to just, by the way, welcome everybody in tonight. We're grateful to see everybody on Facebook, YouTube, and our X channel tonight. Do you think Abbott's policies has had anything to do, because the media, Fox, the conservative outlets are pushing that Greg Abbott's tough stand against the federal government has led to this decrease. But what we're hearing tonight, what I'm hearing from you, is that we have been extorted by Mexico. We've paid them blood money and they've stopped these illegal aliens from coming over, but we've had to pay a price that's higher than probably would have been worth if we'd have just let this keep going. Correct?
No, you're absolutely 100% correct, and let me tell you why. I don't know if it's coincidence. I don't even believe in coincidence anymore. But it happened to this whole deal happened in conjunction with the state of Texas upping the razor wire and putting all these restrictions and kicking the Border Patrol out of that Shelby Park in Eagle Pass, Texas, and all of a sudden, Texas is saying, oh, you see, they stopped coming because of the razor wire. I'm here to tell you no. Now, do I support the razor wire? Yes. Do I support any kind of border security? Absolutely. But I also will always tell you the truth. And the aliens stopped coming because of what I just told you, and not so much about what Texas did now. I love the fact that Texas continues to sue the government, and the Biden administration sues us back because they're not on our side. But I'm all for those fights in the legal system. I'm okay, because that's the way our system is set up. We need to continue those fights in the courtroom. I'm okay with that. But when it comes to the actual on the ground, it's not keeping anybody from coming in illegally. Right now, they have moved and they have shifted the illegals about 10, 15 miles west of Eagle Pass into the two areas known as Quemado, Texas, and Normandy, Texas. And so they're seeing about 500 to 700 a day. Drastically lower, I understand that, than the 5, 6, 7, even up to 15,000 in one day. But again, it's because of the deal in Mexico. No, so it tells me several things. One, Mexico can actually do it if they wanted to, because I'm seeing them doing it right now, and they're working in conjunction with the cartels. The cartels right now are playing along, and they're saying, okay, we're gonna let you do this right now. But it's not going to happen for long. Right. What the cartel is doing right now is they said, okay, we're going to hold off on Texas, but we're going to start increasing the numbers to go through Arizona and California.
And that's what they've done. That's what they've done.
And but let me tell you who those people are. Those are not the same aliens. The aliens that come through Texas are the poor, they're poorly educated, they have no money, they come on top of the train, different types of transportation, but not the ones that are being sent right now through Arizona and California. A lot of them are special interest aliens that you and I have talked about, SIAs,
yes,
that have paid a tremendous amount of money. We're talking tens of thousands of dollars. Chinese nationals, Africans, Middle Easterners, Indians, from all these nations that are flying. Get this, they're flying from their home country to Central America, or South America, Ecuador, and that these countries in Ecuador and I forget the other one, of the Nicaragua, have lifted their visa requirements. And so they've made it easier for these people to land in their airports and then fly from there directly into Mexico, and then Mexico directly into Mexicali, right on the other side of the wall there in California. And you've seen these videos. They literally walk across at the end of the wall, fully well-dressed, with their backpacks, with their carry-on luggage, because they know that they're not going to be stopped. Border Patrol is there. We're all watching it. There's reporters out there doing a great job and sending us the feeds of these videos. And it is incredible to me that we are just letting it happen. And these are the people that we really should be concerned about, because if there's ever an argument that I get from the left is, oh, Victor, these are just economic migrants. They're just here for a better life.
And that's crap.
Listen, I push back because even though that might be true for the majority of the percentage of people coming, there's this other percentage of people coming that is not the case. And if we put it at a conservative level of 15%, 10 to 15% of the 15 million or so, that's also a conservative number, that have come in the last 36 months, that's a lot of people that have come with different intentions, criminal histories, and terroristic ties, people on the no-fly list, on the terror watch list, that are walking in, Chris. They're walking in, and then we have absolutely no way to track them. And then on top of all this, Chris, the ones that are being smuggled in, that we really have no idea, that we never saw, that made it into our country completely undetected and are setting up shop in every part of our country.
Yeah, it's very sad. Hey, I know this don't affect your state, but I do want to get your take on something I heard and see if you can chime in on this a little bit too. By the way, folks, if you got a question for Victor, please be putting it in the chat room tonight, and we'll ask him some questions here in a minute from our audience. I heard a report from the northern border, because I know that our focus and your focus, being from the Lone Star State, is the South. But Victor, the northern border is also at stake, and I was reading something. Gateway Pundit had a story out Monday, I believe, that this is how crazy this has gotten. You're speaking of the cartels, okay? They are targeting the Native Americans in Montana with their fentanyl and their meth, and the head of the tribes of the Native Americans there in northern Montana are complaining to the federal government and saying, look, our people are being killed by the fentanyl brought in by the cartels. They're targeting the North just like they are the South. I know this don't affect you directly, but it's got to concern you. And when you get elected to Congress, Congress is going to have to address the northern border too, correct?
Absolutely, and thanks for bringing up the northern border, because we don't talk about it often enough, but the threat is alive and well in our northern border. I was in Montana, I guess it was about 18 months ago, and I went to speak there, and they were telling me, Victor, we have cartel here. We have a problem with fentanyl. We have a problem with methamphetamine. These are the chiefs of police and sheriffs that I talked to. There was a big conference for the whole state that we met there, and I was a speaker, and I got to speak to a lot of them. And I always ask them the same question, hey, how are you being affected? And I didn't think, Montana, usually I don't have a dot on the map of where all the cartels are located. Montana was blank. Not anymore. Montana, South Dakota, North Dakota, places where they did not have this type of activity is now full of cartel and illegal aliens that work for the cartel that live there permanently. And even the ones that do not, and they send them to Montana, and they will incorporate them in the school systems, in the universities, in the construction business, and you will sell drugs there. You will do illegal activity, even if you don't want to. That's the way you have to pay back some of the fees that are owed to the cartel, or else they'll kill your family back home. So the northern border is a huge, huge problem as well, because we don't seem to think about it all the time. But guess who is cooperating with the cartels on that side? Well, it's the other Mexico. It's Canada.
Right.
Who doesn't seem to care.
That's right.
And they will do nothing about it. Either with Trudeau over there, we're on the same boat here. We're this country caught in between these two countries in North America that they don't like us. They're not our friends. They're not our partners.
Thank you.
And
Thank you.
Very few people will say that out loud.
No, buddy, you hit it. I got a good question for you out of Facebook tonight. Corey Aguilar, good to see you, Corey. And it's the $1 million question that I don't think anybody's asked the federal government. With all the technology, Victor, they're freaking spying on us. They're spying on our bank accounts. They're spying on us taking a bathroom break at our jobs. Hey, if you put Mega in a checks transaction, they're going to have the FBI showing up at your door. Her question is this: with the technology that they have today, why can't we track these people coming across the border? Excellent question. What's your thoughts on that?
Great question. And I get that question sometimes when it comes to deportation, because we will have a mass deportation starting next year. But it's the will. The answer is, it's not that whether we have the technology or not. It's that we have the will to use it and focus it on our citizens and protecting our citizens, not going after Catholics and Christians and MAGA and patriots from this country who love this country, but really focus. And I was at one of these intelligence agencies, and I can't say more than that. I just got back from one of them yesterday. Boy, do we have the technology. They know everything that they want to know. The problem is that they have been focused, kind of like the Mayorkas of the world. They have been instructed from this administration, from these intelligence agencies, the Department of Justice, all the way to the Border Patrol, ICE, and everybody, is this is what you're going to do now. This is what you used to do, and that's secure our nation and look out for viable threats. No. Not that anymore. You go after January 6ers. You go after all this other stuff that really people are actually really fed up with. But to answer the question, the technology exists, and we can go after them, and we can find them. One of my answers when people are like, "Oh, Victor, you're not going to be able to find these people to deport them." My answer is, we're the police. Yes, we can. Yes, we can find them. Yes, we can. It's going to take a little bit of time. Some are very obvious. We know where they live.
Yeah.
I can tell you places in San Antonio, in Dallas, Fort Worth, in Alabama, in Maryland. I could tell you where they live. We could go there, and we will start picking people up. And we have to start saying the message, because there will be that mass deportation. It's going to be a comprehensive operational plan, if you will, that's going to take a long time. It's going to be ongoing. But here's a little bit of the snag that I see a little bit that we'll have to overcome. It's the locals, the state and locals. Guess from who? From the blue states, right?
Exactly.
From the sanctuary cities that they're not going to want to cooperate. They're literally going to stand between the federal government and the illegal alien. And I'm telling you right now, we're going to talk about this next year. And you're going to see it where somebody is going to stand in front of the federal government and say, "Nope, leave them alone.
I know that.
And
I believe
defend
that.
the illegal alien.
But,
and this is that's going to be a little bit of a problem. But we have incentives in the federal government, and one of the incentives goes back to the money. Well, we stopped funding you on these sanctuary cities. We stopped sending you this money. Look at what the solution for Denver and for New York. The solution is not. I don't hear the mayors over there saying, you know what, we need to start securing the border because we can't handle it. No. We want more money to continue to pay for the people, for the hotels, and all the resources that they're giving them. That's not the answer. The answer is we cut you off and see how you're going to deal with it then.
Do you think that the events of New York, Chicago, look, I saw the worthless governor up there, and also the worthless governor in New York and the mayor screaming bloody murder now that their streets are being overrun with crime. Look, some of those videos that have come out of New York City over the last 2 weeks, Victor, have been hideous. That woman being drugged by that moped,
yes.
And then the cops being beat up, and the kid shooting his bird. You know, you just want to reach to the freaking television and choke him. I mean, seriously, just shake a damn knot in that youngin' and say, let me tell you something, you little punk. You're here illegally to begin with. And, you know, if it was left up to me, I'd put his ass in jail for the rest of his life and let him sit in an American prison. But that's just Chris. That's a little rough. But, I mean, that's just me. Because me and Victor, I'll tell you what would happen, Vic. Me and you go down to Mexico, and we don't have our passport with us, and we just take a joyride and say we're going to stick our middle finger up to the Mexican government and go have a few tequilas. Guess what's going to happen to Victor and Chris? We're going to be cell buddies. We're going to be waving at each other across the cell. We probably won't see our families again because they wouldn't put up with it.
I love you. I love you bringing that up because I say that all the time as far as when it comes to try it. Why don't you just try it in Mexico? Let's just start there. And flip the bird at a police officer, see what happens to you. As a matter of fact, why don't you take your American flag and put it in the back of your pickup truck and drive into Mexico? Let's see how long it takes them to get you. Because you can't do that in Mexico. This is what is striking to me is that these countries have stricter laws than we have.
Yes, they do.
And yet they get to choose when they enforce them or not. I worked in Mexico. I understand this country. I understand the corruption there. And I also understand when they open that constitutional book of their laws, let me tell you, I would tell people, you know what? You better pay somebody off before they open that book because once you open that book, you're effed. You're effed. You're screwed. When they really want to go by the book, you have no chance.
That's right.
You're guilty there.
That's
before
true.
You have to prove it's the other way around. The burden is on you, not on the government, to prove anything. And so, even having said all that, as a matter of fact, the immigration laws in Mexico are so strict that when you try and think about it in reverse, then people kind of like shake their heads and say, "Wait a minute. Well, then why are we accepting it here? We have decent laws and we have strong laws, but we don't seem to, when you don't enforce the law, then it doesn't matter." Kind of like Mexico not enforcing the laws against the cartels in the possession of a weapon. There is no Second Amendment in Mexico. There is no right to bear arms.
Come on, buddy.
The only people that can bear arms in Mexico are the police and the military. Yet the cartels are walking around open carry like it's a constitutional right, like it is in Texas, open carry, and they do it with impunity. That's the difference here. We need to shift that focus and that narrative to say, you know what? It's actually the same here in the U.S., and we're going to show you. We're going to show you by putting you in jail. We're going to show you by deporting you. Oh, and really quick, you know, these countries won't accept their citizens. Deportation is not as easy as people think it is. We could go pick up all these Venezuelans. Well, Venezuela's not going to want to accept.
No, they're not.
They will. They used to in Guatemala at one point. They block their runways from our airplanes landing there. I mean, they make it difficult to receive their own citizens because they don't want them back. Well, that's going to be a little bit of a challenge. But again, what do? All right, you don't open the runways, we're not going to bring the bananas from your country. We're not going to bring whatever trade we have with your country. As a matter of fact, we're going to fine you and penalize you for that, and you'll see them opening up their runways immediately to allow their people back in. That's only, to me, that's only fair.
That's only fair, Victor. Do you think, and folks, let me remind you, if you've got a question for Victor tonight, please put it in the house. Questions are open. Chat is wide open. Facebook and YouTube tonight. We're grateful to have everybody. Want to say hello to Barry Duff. He's a listener from Canada tonight, and I'm sure he's agreeing with Victor's assessment of the Canadian situation. But listen, this is an opinion question, because I know you're running for Congress, and in your opinion, in your humble opinion, does Congress have the will, Victor? There's the only thing I've heard the Democrats say that I agree with, and I don't agree with the Democrats on this totally, because they're trying to shift the blame to the Republicans. Republicans are shifting the blame to the Democrats. But one thing that I heard Harold Ford say yesterday, and he's somewhat right, ultimately this policy, this is a legal legislative issue. We cannot give these people amnesty, and there's a lot of forces that are wanting to give these illegals amnesty. You've got another element in the Republican Party that's going to protect the illegals because they want the labor. The Democrats want the votes, the Republicans want the labor. And then in the middle, you've got this group of people, and it's called the American citizens, that are getting screwed every night and every day, losing jobs, losing family members to death because of cartels, and losing members to people. I'm thinking of my dear buddy Maria Espinosa. She's got the group called the Remembrance Project, and that's a organization dedicated to the victims of crimes of illegal aliens. We had Dan Glovac on Monday night with Ryan Zink, and Dan's son Spencer. He had an anniversary this week too, and it's another tragedy. His son was driving down the street in Houston, Texas, and an illegal pulls up right beside him, pulls a gun out, and just blows his head off right there in cold daylight. And he celebrated the anniversary of that. Now, he celebrated, commemorated it. And Victor, that's a string of death that has been laced on this country. My question to you, I went a long way to get back to my question. Does Congress have the will? Do they have the character, the eternal fortitude to do what's right by the American people? Or are we going to be talking about this 4 years from now, Chris McDonald and Victor Avila on this program, and we're not going to be any further along closing this border and get this immigration situation straightened out? Because, look, elections matter, but we're not going to have elections if they turn these states like Texas blue and these other states with these illegals voting, buddy. We're effed, like you said. Well, yeah. I'll just use your term. We're effed and screwed, all in one.
So the answer right now is no. Does Congress have the will? No. And I'm talking about both sides. When I say Congress, we're talking about the entire body of people there. But here's the shift and this is my optimism speaking now in this opinion that it is going to shift, and I've seen it already. The American people are demanding, and it's actually not even mattering anymore when it comes to political affiliation, because the Democrats are the first one to tell you. They tell me in my own district, the Democrats do, saying we're fed up. We just want representation. We want somebody to fight for us, and so that shift is happening throughout the country, and you're going to see that in November 2024. It's going to be a blowout because people are the ones that are demanding. Now, they have the right to demand because we own this country. It's ours, and they rightly so are demanding for representation of the will of the people. Believe me, if you think about these issues, Chris, they're really nonpartisan. Fentanyl and deaths of fentanyl, who cares what party you're from?
That's right.
It's killing us, Americans, from both sides.
That's right.
The same thing with the problem with human trafficking and methamphetamine. Securing the border doesn't have a downside, and that's my friend Tom Holman who said that. He said we were talking with Tom, and Tom is like, "What? Tell me a reason, or tell me something that give me an example of what it would be to a downside to securing the border." Well, I'm waiting for someone to tell me, because securing the border benefits not only the Americans, us, but it actually benefits the other countries and the people from getting raped and extorted and robbed and kidnapped and drowning in the river. So you will save lives, believe it or not. But I hope the Congress situation changes with people like me and others that are in this similar situation that are running to grow those numbers of the people that do have the will. I have it. I have the power, of the battle-tested power to go in there and change it. And I think that when you build numbers, you will get some different results, because we already know. I mean, I know that one of my first duties is to go in there and negotiate like I've never negotiated in my life. This is my strong point. I bring that. You have to negotiate. I understand you're not going to win everything, but right now we've won nothing and given up everything. We're giving up our freedoms. We're giving up our safety. We're giving up inflation. We're giving up all in our education system. We're giving everything up and we're getting nothing in return. We need negotiators to get some of that back to where it benefits us and makes us what we are and we're supposed to be in this country. It's a constitutional republic. It's the freest country on earth and the most powerful country on earth. And we need to go back to making it that way. And yes, I do want to be a superpower. And yes, I do want to be number one. And I'm not ashamed of it.
No.
And I do want to put America first. And so what? So what? You know what? It's time to move on and really get to the people and say, they won't leave, by the way, Chris. All the ones, I'm going to leave and Donald Trump wins. Whatever, you won't leave. They don't leave. They hate this country.
They hate this country.
Not enough. Not enough to leave. Not enough to go get their Starbucks in the morning. So you cannot have your cake and eat it too.
You cannot have your cake and eat it too. I got another good question for you. We'll wrap it up on this. Corey, it really is a serious question and probably one that people have thought about. They just maybe didn't want to think about it. But she says, look, if what is happening in New York continues, and this is the danger of some of this, because she says, do you feel there will be citizens who will start taking their matters into their own hands to protect themselves? Because, Victor, they're not getting any protection from their government. And, you bring up the point, and I was sort of going to ask you this myself about these local sheriffs. People may or may not realize this. The local sheriff has more power than the federal government itself. When it gets down to the way our government's set up, the local sheriff has jurisdiction over things more so than even a governor in many ways. And it's these local sheriffs, Victor, that are refusing to enforce the laws we have on the books and allowing this floodgate. Her question is a legitimate question, and I'll tell you why. Because I think this is what ultimately the goal of the government is in allowing this. I think, and it's a sinister play, and I know it's sort of out there, maybe a little conspiracy, but in ways, the way this government is, I don't trust this government past this phone that I'm holding in my hand right now. And I do believe that they're baiting us up, because if citizens start taking things in their own hands and they shut those cities down with martial law, and then it just is a snowball effect for the whole nation. But are you concerned that that is out there, that people are going to just get fed up? They can't depend on their sheriffs. They can't depend on the police. They can't depend on their governor. They can't depend on their mayor. They said, screw it. We're not going to allow these illegals to kill our families.
Yeah, it's certainly getting to that point. I don't see it quite out there. Like there's obviously a certain group of people that would like send me down there with my guns and I'll do it. But I already see it happening. Look at the guy that tackled the shooter in Kansas City.
Exactly.
This is they're fed up.
Yes.
And they're going to put themselves in harm's way, and they're going to try to protect us. But when you bring up the sheriff, I'm glad you did, because the sheriff, you're right, has the ultimate power. They could deputize unlimited numbers of people. And one of the things, because I talk to the sheriffs a lot, I know you've been down there with Sheriff Cole and others, all they need is resources. Give him and her, the sheriff, resources, and they're on it. They can't go about and say, well, I'm going to just deputize everybody, because it requires a lot of money, requires a lot of setup and an operational plan to do that. But if you give them the funds and the resources to do it, especially when it comes from the federal government, and say, all right, Sheriff Cole, here you go. Here's so much money. You deputize. Let's start with 150 people. Boom, And all of a sudden, you have 150 people that have somewhere to stay. I'm a logistical guy. I think about all these things. You have somewhere where they stay. They're being fed. They have and they're patrolling, and they're helping the sheriff. They're deputized. They gotta be proficient in firearms. Maybe there's a little bit of a quick training that the deputy that the sheriff gives them. And all of a sudden, you go from a 6-deputy county to 150 deputies. And that's just one county. Then you go over to Valverde. Then you go to Maverick County where Eagle Pass is. Then you go to El Paso County. Let me tell you, you'll start making a big difference. But not only that, you will get the attention of a lot of people in good ways and bad ways. You're going to get the attention of the cartels. They're not going to like it. You're going to get the attention of the other cartel in Washington, D.C. They're certainly not going to like it. But ultimately, they're going to have to find out the hard way that it's the people that own this country and not them.
That's so true, Victor. That is so good. I had a question for you as we wrap this up. These Chinese nationals are troubling. It's funny, we haven't heard too much about it until just the last few weeks, and then they were given some staggering numbers of the increase in January of 24 compared to what it was just 3 months ago. You got any thoughts as to why the Chinese are coming in here all of a sudden like this illegally? Because there were TikTok videos, man, showing how the Chinese, the government of China, Xi, and that communist bunch are teaching people, showing them lessons how to get around the wall in America. That's the biggest middle finger insult to our country. I'm going to tell you, look, it's a good thing that Chris McDonald is not president and Victor Avila is not my Homeland Security director, because we would take care of this crap, Avila. I would tell you what, China wouldn't be able to spend $1 on a McDonald French fry after I'm done with them with the sanctions about doing stuff like that. What say you?
That's right. That's the big picture, how you deal with it. But the number that I got, by the way, is 28,000. 28,000
That's a lot,
Chinese
Vic.
nationals for the last 36 months under this administration. 28,000. But here's the big difference with Chinese nationals. They're in a category of their own. They're being sent. This is my opinion. They're being sent from China's communists. The CCP is sending these people. We already found, if you guys recall, was it 3 or 4 or 5 Chinese police stations? One in Houston, Texas, and all around the country. They are setting up shop here. And so they're coming at us very different ways. One, they're actually sending the people. Who are these people? Are they scientists? Are they hackers? Are they going to get into universities? Are they going to steal? They already steal our intellectual property rights. What else are they going to steal? Our intelligence. So these are different individuals with a different agenda. So they're coming in through land. Well, they're coming in through the air with these Chinese balloons. They're also coming in by buying our land. And I'm going to tell you, they bought 140,000 acres in Texas, in Valverde County. They're next to Del Rio. And they have been trying to buy the ranchers, these big ranchers. You know, these ranches in Texas are huge. They're tens of thousands of acres. And they've had Chinese, the CCP's, shell companies offer to buy their ranches. And in some cases, the ranchers gave in because they're offering 4 or 5 times the money of the whole land of what it's worth. But most important is that these ranchers are sick and tired, Chris. They're like, I'm tired of dealing with the illegals. I'm tired of dealing with the cut fences and my livestock and all the other issues that they deal with, the illegal traffic coming through the ranches, that some of them said, here you go, the heck with it. And they sell it so much that they formed a coalition in Texas. And I met with the head of the coalition that go around and speak and get together with these ranch owners and say, no, don't fall for it. Don't fold. Don't give in. I know they're offering you extraordinary amounts of money for your property. Don't do it, because this is China trying to take over through purchase of our own land. Now, they'll tell you, well, we're going to use the land to put up these wind turbines and blah blah. Well, that might be true, and the Biden administration is all for that because they don't want us to drill in Texas. They want us to use these Green Deal measures that it's not what we stand for in Texas. We want to continue to drill. We want to supply the oil and gas that we have, these natural resources that we can supply to the entire world. We have it here in Texas, but we're restricted by the Biden administration to keep us from being energy independent. So all that ties in. And so, my goodness, if anybody doesn't recognize national security threat, it should be that. Just with China alone.
Absolutely,
with
brother.
the stuff that I did. So you're right. You and me, we would never tolerate this. But the Biden administration tolerates it because somehow they have given in a position of weakness. That's probably the best way I could describe it. They're not afraid of us anymore.
They're not afraid of us.
The cartels are not afraid of us. China's not. Iran is definitely not afraid of us. Hezbollah and Hamas. And how do I know? Because they tell us.
They tell us.
Watch the videos. They want to kill us. They want to destroy Israel and us, the United States, along with everybody else. They are letting us know that they want to destroy us, yet that is still not enough for this administration to wake up and do something about it.
Scale of 1 to 10, how dangerous a situation are we looking at before something big happens in this country, you think? 10 being the greatest threat, 1 being the least.
I think we're about 6 getting to a 7.
That's pretty high.
That's pretty high. I wish I could tell you 5 or below, but the reality is not there. The reality is we have people that have already been here. We have people that continue to come with strictly nefarious reasons, And I tell you, because I interviewed these people in Mexico, and this is years ago when I worked there, they were already there. They were waiting for this opportunity. They have been patient. They have learned the language. They set up shop in Mexico. They live there. They go to school there. They work there. They shave their beards. They did everything that they had to do to take advantage of what is happening right now, and they have now been granted access. And look, I think we grabbed over 300. So it's not like I'm making this up. We actually caught and interdicted over 300 of them. How many? If 300, if you think about just that number alone and compare it to the Trump administration, I think under the Trump administration, on all his 4 years, I think we got 14 people or 17 people, something like that. Well, when you catch 300, that's not a good thing. That's telling me that there's tens of thousands possibly that have come in undetected in this country. And the last thing I want to see is what we talked about. I don't want to see an attack and more bloodshed. We already have enough of that at the border by our agents being killed, by the illegals themselves being killed. So we're talking about defending everyone here. But we got to put America first. We got to realize and make these people, and that's part of my job. I know it's hard, but I'm going to use all my effort and all my experience to convince. First of all, I'm going to start with our own party. So everybody, why are you going to convince the left? Well, I know who the left are. It's the problem is with our own party that I don't even know who I have to convince. I don't even know if these are real Republicans or not. The guy I'm trying to run, I'm trying to primary in my own district, has an R in front of his name, but all his votes are with the left.
I know.
So he's not a Republican. He's a Democrat in disguise. Yeah, so you have to go and weed through that, which is what I did a lot in my career. I'm ready to go and weed through these people and call them out for what they are. And if they're not, we have to hold them accountable.
We do. Listen, we appreciate you being on with me tonight. I do have one final question. It's a quick one about the elections coming up. I know this is sort of off topic tonight, but I think it's important. Look, I believe President Trump has the will, he has the might to fix this. He's going to have a Congress behind him, and that's why we encourage people to go to VictorAvilaforCongress.com and also AgentUnderFireBook.com. Check out Victor's website. You folks in Texas that are in his district down there, please help him get across the finish line. Victor, what's your idea? Who do you think Trump picks as his running mate, and how do you see this playing out come election time? Do you think, I found it intriguing in New Hampshire that the number one issue was immigration up in there in that northeastern state. The same thing was the key in Nevada. The same election issue was the same in Iowa. And I think that it is on the minds of the American voter, and I think it's going to be the linchpin of the Democrats if they don't come to the table and with some common sense and fix this stuff without amnesty. But what's your tea leaves about President Trump? I know he's just one man, and he's going to have a uphill climb to deal with this. But who do you see would be his best suited running mate to help him deal with this?
And that's a great question, because I think you're going to see a very, very different administration from President Trump, because he has already been there and learned the hard way. Correct. Especially when it comes to personnel and who you surround himself with. So I think he's already actually forming that cabinet. I think he's already picking these people. And I don't know if it's going to be Tim Scott as vice president, or it might be Vivek. Vivek seems to be getting along great with him and might bring the young vote. To me, we do need a strong vice president to kind of fill the agenda and second that agenda. But it's going to be the head of the Homeland Security Department. It's going to be the head of the FBI, the head of the intelligence agencies that we have to weed out. These and clean house, basically, Chris. We have to clean house. There's what happened to what I believe happened to President Trump when he came in 2016 is that he left so many Obama holdovers in these positions of authority, these SESs, these I forget the acronym for SES, executive status people. There's too many of them, and in all these different agencies, we got to weed them out. And weed them out quickly and get rid of them and replace them with people that will continue to the agenda for the American people. I want to be part of that solution. I tell people all the time, listen, we're going to take over the White House, but and we're going to do the best with Congress. But do you want me to be part of the guy that's going to be part of the team and enhance these solutions with my expertise and put them through Congress with the help and in conjunction with the Trump administration? Or do you want to leave this guy down here that continues to block border security bills and go against the Republican agenda? Even that, he's against the Republican agenda.
Yeah.
So that's a decision that the voter has to make, because I think it is going to be a vastly different administration. I think the people are be set up. I know Tom Homan's going to be involved. Tom Homan has said to me and publicly that, you know, President Trump is back in there and he's back in there.
Good.
And
we need to.
I'm in communication with these people.
Yeah.
I meet with them, and I want to be part of that solution with this team, because I know they're going to need somebody in Congress like me to push these efforts, right? It is going to be a team effort, and I think you're going to see an incredible, strong team in this next administration.
We'd love to get Tom on a program. We'll work that out with you sometime. But listen, I think he'd be a great one. I always respected him when he was there before, and it's going to take some strong people, Victor, some serious people for serious times. And you're one of them, amigo, and I appreciate you. I'm glad to call you my friend. I'm glad to let you come on and talk about these things with us when you do, and I know it won't be the last time. I hope to see you in person very soon. And
yes,
listen, I want you to take our blessings with you on your campaign. You know that you've got a friend here on the McFiles, and we hope that we can get you back on soon. When is your actual voting time, when people go vote for the first time for you in Texas?
Early voting starts February 20th. That's next week.
Right.
And then, of course, the big day is Super Tuesday on March 5th. We'll know what our next step is on March, maybe that same night. Who knows these elections anymore? But we want to know. I firmly believe we will go in a runoff. And if I go in a runoff with the incumbent, I'm going to take this with the support of the people. And if it's not, let me tell you, I'm here to stay. I'm here to continue to fight. I know I have a role somewhere here, in some capacity, to use my experience, and that's all I want to do, is have the opportunity to give back and put our state of Texas and our country back on the right path.
Sounds like a winner. Victor Avila for Congress.com, folks. Listen, 5 days away, man. I'm praying for you. And, you know, maybe next week we're going to be sort of in and out with events going on. But maybe we'll get you on run one more time before the big election and let people hear from you again. I'm going to let you go, buddy. I'm going to say goodnight to these folks. Thank you so much for being with me tonight, as always. Victor Avila, thank you so much, my friend.
Thank you, Chris.
Bless you, friend. Good night now.
Bye-bye.
Victor Avila, everybody. Put some fire in that house. What a good guy right there. So proud of him, and I am very, very honored to have him on the show tonight. He gave us a lot of great information, and thank you all. We had a couple of questions. I sure thought we were going to get more questions than that, but we only got a few. But that's okay. We thank Corey for the 2 questions we did get. It's good to see everybody in the house tonight. In Facebook and YouTube. I just want to say a few things. I'm not coming on the camera. Please remember, tomorrow night, if you're in the greater Jacksonville, Florida area, North Florida, South Georgia area, and you can come be with us, we would love to see you at the Ramada Wyndham, 3130 Hartley Road in Jacksonville, starting at 7 o'clock tomorrow night. We've got a Friday, Saturday prophecy conference that we're going to be dealing with the end times. Tomorrow night, we're dealing with the rapture versus Revelation. Then Saturday morning at 10 o'clock, we start an all-day thing. It's just basically 3 sessions, 10, 2, and 7. There'll be a sort of an addendum time to the 2 o'clock service. We're going to be doing a question and answer time probably around 4. But these sessions will just last an hour, hour and a half. You're not going to be sitting there in a room all day. We're going to take breaks and time of fellowship. But we're going to be dealing with Israel, America, the end times. Tomorrow night, we're dealing with the rapture versus the revelation of Christ. We're going to be dealing Saturday morning with Israel and land for peace deals and why America stands in jeopardy. She's pushing a Palestinian state tonight, and it's going to bring judgment on us, and we're going to talk about that Saturday morning. So please be with us. And then Saturday afternoon at 2 o'clock, another important session. We're going to be looking at Christian anti-Semitism and Israel and the church. You don't want to miss this. It's going to be troubling, but it's information you're going to need, and I'm going to need to carry on as we go forward this Christian anti-Semitism is exploding on the scene, and you're going to read and hear some things that are going to maybe make you twist in your seat. And then Saturday night, we wrap it up with a session entitled Egypt to Armageddon. We're going to deal with the empires of the past, present, and future that will play a role in end-time Bible prophecy, Israel being the centerpiece, and we're going to go through that with charts, maps, and we'll have a PowerPoint presentation. We will have handouts for you, and it's going to be a good time to say hello to you in the Jacksonville area, and we've had some folks tell us you're coming. I hope you can make it. And again, that's the Ramada Wyndham, 3130 Hartley Road in Jacksonville. Our next program here on the McFiles will be Sunday morning Bible study. That'll be around 10 o'clock, 9, 10, somewhere in that time frame. And then Monday night, James Akers will be back with me. Me and James are going to tackle Israel. We're going to deal with this Palestinian state issue, what's going on while the Biden administration is pushing it. There's been a lot of betrayal by this government against Israel and her fight against Hamas, and tensions are rising, and we're going to talk to James about that. We're going to have some other guests. Ruth Goddenheim is going to be back with us. We're hoping to get her on next Tuesday. And then I'm going to be at the National Religious Broadcasters Convention on Thursday and Friday next week in Nashville, and so forth. We will have a Wednesday night Bible study. I'm probably pretty sure we can have that. But whatever you do, don't miss a program where it's going to be a little sketchy next week because of the traveling and all. We'll be in studio Monday and Tuesday day, but we will have audio programs Monday and Tuesday night. But you'll see my face Sunday, but you won't see it tonight because it's a late night Thursday night. Did you enjoy Victor Avila? What a good guy. I do encourage you folks, VictorAvilaforCongress.com and also AgentUnderFireBook.com if you'd like a good read about the things that Victor's had to deal with as a federal agent and so forth. Our prayers tonight for the one that was killed in the Kansas City Super Bowl celebration yesterday. 9 injured was the latest tally we've got. Living in a dangerous world, folks. We live in a dangerous world. And as I told Victor tonight, it's time that we understand that these serious times require serious people. And it requires people that understand the times we're in. And I pray that we all ask the Lord to search our hearts and make us those kind of people in these last days, because we're going to need some fortitude and courage. And may He increase our courage and our faith in Him during these times. I'm so grateful that you've been with me this week. I hope to see you in Jacksonville. It is unlikely that we will be broadcasting these shows live now. I'm not saying that with certainty. We may find a way to do it. But if we do, the chat will be disabled. You can watch it, and then we'll interact with you later. We may upload it later. If we upload it, record it. We're definitely going to record them. We're just not sure what we're going to do about airing them, but you'll get to see them. But we'd rather see you in person because that's the best way to see us. And again, that's at the Ramada Wyndham, 3130 Hartley Road in Jacksonville, starting tomorrow night at 7 o'clock. And until we see you Sunday morning here again on the Faith Network, Chris McDonald, on a beautiful Thursday night with my dear buddy Victor Avila. God bless you, God bless your families, and God bless this great nation of America. Let me remind you, if you enjoy our content, you can see the way to donate to us at the upper part of the screen here, paypal.me/themcfiles, patreon.com/themcfiles, it's actually paypal.com/themcfiles, Cash.App /$, TheMcFiles, chrismac44@gmail.com, and Venmo, TheMcFilesChris, P.O. Box 50942, Knoxville 37950. And thanks again to Victor Avila for a great interview tonight. Man, he was good, as he always is. We hope that you enjoyed him. Y'all have a good night. Be blessed out there. And may the Lord bless you and keep you as our prayers. Have a good night, everybody.